Let's take a look now at what's grabbing the headlines here in France. I'm joined by Catherine Viette. Good morning to you, Catherine. The papers are looking ahead to what is going to be a national tribute starting about 9 a.m. to the victims of terror. Tell us more.
That's right. We're going to start with 20 Minutes because it has it on its front page. Their headline there is A Time to Remember. And as you mentioned, this is a tribute to the victims and the families of the victims who died in attacks in the past year. It's going to be held at Invalides, start at 9 a.m. And Le Figaro also reporting on this, giving a bit more details that Hollande is expected to give a speech. There'll be a moment of silence. And the paper is reporting that it's a time to honor those, but it's also a time of tensions.
Yeah, absolutely. And that theme of tensions is something that the Catholic daily La Croix has very much picked up on.
Yes, they're taking a look at some of the victims here who are saying that they've actually come to dread these events. One of the victims that was quoted in the article, she was at the Bataclan concert hall when the gunmen attacked it, and she says, "Please let us stop being victims." That ceremonies like this dredge up all these bad memories and that they make it harder for us to move on and get on with our lives.
Yeah, and those bad memories, a very obvious consequence of the terrorist attacks and the trauma and everything else, but there's other sort of less obvious aspects of the suffering for the victims' families.
Yes, there are. This is an interesting article that was from Liberation, and they're saying that, the victims, their families are in a kind of a paperwork hell, this never-ending paperwork dealing with the administration. It says that nearly 10 months after the November 13th attacks, the supporting documents that have to be presented. It's just this sort of never-ending trail, and that one of the big questions out of all of this is the question of compensation. Apparently there's a fund here, guaranteed funds for victims of acts of terrorism. And to give you an example, a father who's lost a child would be eligible for compensation of 62,500 euros. And now, with the number of attacks rising, there are concerns that there might not be enough money in that fund.
Okay, well, that event at Les Invalides is something, of course, we're going to be covering throughout the course of the morning. But let's move on now, because, of course, we're just a couple of months away from the real sort of heating up process of the presidential race. And the candidates on the right are proposing some sharp spending cuts.
Yes, some rather big spending cuts. This comes out of Le Figaro, and the paper is reporting that the four main candidates for the Les Républicains party, that's the party on the right, so François Fillon, Alain Juppé, Bruno Le Maire, and Nicolas Sarkozy, that they're each proposing savings plans, and depending on the plan, they're supposed to save between 85 to 100 billion euros to reduce public deficits. And now some of the plans these candidates are looking at are reforming retirement policies, the healthcare system, and also unemployment insurance.
Again, that theme of reducing deficits, something Le Parisien, the local Paris newspaper, has picked up on. They've got a report that sort of talks about the relationship between the government and local municipalities. What's this about? Yeah,
it's sort of a very forceful report here. Their headline on their front page says how the government empties the coffers of the cities. So it says that in order to reduce public deficits, the government has become very, very aggressive. The state now no longer content to just cut its allocations to the local communities, local community governments, that instead now the state is asking for the local communities to give money back. And the paper takes a look at three regions that are dealing with this. And one local official there is saying that if this trend continues, they're going to have to raise local taxes.
Okay, they're talking about so many things on the campaign trail here, but climate change is amongst them as well.
Yes, it's the return of the climate skeptic, according to L'Opinion. Now, that's a pro-business paper, so they're sort of taking a look at this on the campaign trail. It says, the paper goes on to say that there are always some politicians that are willing to question the role of humans in global warming in the name of growth or job creation. And it says again, for example, they go and take a look at the candidates in the Republican Party, and it says there the concern is with greener technology or energies. It could bring new legislation, and it could stall or kill jobs.
Okay, and just lastly, briefly, you've picked out a story about a long-running saga which La Croix is talking about this Monday morning.
Right. We're talking about the the French company Alstom, which builds trains, and they have historically had a big manufacturing plant in the north of France in Belfort, and they've recently announced that they were going to close that plant and move operations still within France, but away from that city. The residents there shocked by the announcement, and Croix here saying that they're getting over the shock, but they feel that it's possible for them to keep the plant open and running, and they're going to continue protesting. The government has come out and said as well that they're going to try and keep that plant open there. So we'll just have to watch and see what happens going forward.
Yeah, long-running saga indeed, as you say there. Thank you so much, Catherine Viette, with today's front pages here in France.